Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
The one and only Darwin Potter. Good morning, Darwin.
Good morning to you, Anita, and welcome to September. It sounds like you're going to be talked out this morning.
Oh, my goodness, but you're my special guest of all guests. I must say that. I know they're all sleeping, so they're not hearing me say that, but I do mean that. And, you know, I was just thinking as I was coming up the elevator, how many books have you literally written on celebrities? What, 25? It's a lot.
35.
Oh, 35,
well,
Darwin.
Celebrities in films, but I only started recently.
I know that.
No, I did some earlier books when I was younger, like on Anne Bancroft, but most of them I've done since 2003. That's why I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But, Anita, I want to press on because, as you know, I have had the privilege and honor of meeting some of the most beautiful women in the world, especially in Hollywood. But 2 weeks ago, I now have a new candidate to talk about, a stunningly beautiful woman that many millions of Americans think will be our next First Lady. And, of course, I'm talking about Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife. I saw her on Fifth Avenue with her son, and I was awed by her presence and her beauty. First, she was wearing a red mini dress that I think was a Valentino, and it was so short you could see all the way to Honolulu. and her stiletto heels, and I do not exaggerate, were as tall as Mount Everest. And a gloriously beautiful, elegant woman, and if I'm not mistaken, that was a $5,000 Coco Chanel handbag. And it's early in the morning, and with her was her son, the Baron, who is with Donald Trump. He's 9 years old. When he was born in 2006, Donald went and told everyone that my wife has just given birth to the most perfect child born in the history of mankind.
Of course.
Now, normally, I don't agree with a lot of Trump's opinions, but I think with the Baron, he's right. I mean, the kid was astonishing. But, you know, Trump in his military days was a very good-looking man, and all the girls were after him. Of course, being rich helped. And then Mrs. Trump she's just shockingly beautiful. So naturally, they would have the child. The child, I think, was wearing a $3,000 midnight blue suit. You know, Trump has his own clothing line, a $500 designer tie, and a white shirt. And I even looked at his shoes. I think they were made with the skin of an endangered species, but we won't go into that. And there they were. You know, they live on Fifth Avenue in the Trump Tower, and I guess they were going shopping. And I was awed by this woman, and I know quite a bit about her. I'm sure you remember the wedding which was right near you in Palm Beach. In
Mar-a-Lago.
At Mar-a-Lago, the famous estate. And I don't know, that is now being used against Trump in his campaign for president because he invited Bill and Hillary. Now he's being attacked for inviting Bill and Hillary to his wedding with that, and the gown was featured on the cover of Vogue. You know, the $200,000 wedding gown she wore from the House of Dior, and with the 13-foot train and the 16-foot veil, it was quite some wedding. And Barbara Walters and everyone attended. Well, this woman, now, it may be highly doubtful whether she will be the first Lady, but I'll tell you this. I've written 2 books about First Ladies, and a third one coming out in October on Hillary. One was on Nancy Reagan, and the other was on Jackie Kennedy. Well, let me tell you, compared to Nancy and Jackie, who were really the style setters of first ladies, we all remember Jackie with her designer dresses and gowns and her pillbox hat, and Nancy with her haute couture, usually red dresses. But Mrs. Trump has them all beat. If she becomes First Lady, she will be the only First Lady in the history of the Republic who dresses sexy. I mean, she does not want to hide her assets. And I've seen many, many pictures of her. Let us say that, well, how can you call it? Plunging décolletage. I think she believes if you've got them, baby, flaunt them.
Runs in the family, right?
Yes, right. And she was a model in Milano. And in fact, she was hired in 1998 as a model for Trump. And at that time, he was married to Marla Maples. As he later said, Marla was a wonderful woman, but it took a lot of millions of dollars to get rid of her. And then he lived for about 5 years with this stunningly beautiful Melania. Now, if she is First Lady or becomes First Lady, she would be the only First Lady ever born in a communist country. She was born in Slovenia, and a lot of people have dismissed her in the press as a bimbo, but she's not a bimbo at all. In Slovenia, she studied she got degrees in architecture and design. She runs her own private company, having nothing to do with Trump, cosmetics, and she designs her own jewelry. Okay, so she makes only $1 million a year in her company, and that would be chicken feed to Trump. But the woman is an artist in her own right, and so she's intelligent. She's a philanthropist. In your home state of Florida, she's the honorary chairwoman of the Food for Poor in Florida, and she does work for the Red Cross. And so she's a woman to be admired, although most people only can see her beauty. And she would be fantastic hosting dinners at the White House. Now, I'm not at all saying she's going to make it to First Lady, but as I said, who knows? I mean, this Trump thing is a phenomenon. Now, how does Trump figure into my future? Well, first...
I'm waiting. I've never heard you be so, enthusiastic about something like this. I'm sitting here dumbfounded, but keep going.
Well, I had to, as you know, I've met Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Lana Turner, and indeed, those were really goddesses. But this woman has such style and grace that she really, really impressed me. Now, I have to, I study First Ladies as a hobby. She would be only the second First Lady who has ever been photographed in the nude. As you know, on the Grecian island owned by Aristotle Onassis, he secretly had cameramen photograph Jackie, who ran around the garden in the nude. But Melania has actually posed in the nude. Well, she wasn't really nude. She wore a diamond collar. So that doesn't make her in the nude. And it was published on the cover of the British Gentleman's Quarterly. And I have a 2000 edition of Sports Illustrated. They do a swimsuit edition every year. Well, she is wearing a white bikini. I don't think much material went into that white bikini. And she has legs that now... In World War II, Betty Grable was voted as having the world's most beautiful legs. Well, from what I've seen of Mrs. Trump, they're long. Her legs are long, but It's a stunning body. Now, I'm sounding too enthusiastic, and I better.
No, that's okay. You can keep going. I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face, just shaking my head.
Well, now, you know how cruel the press is today, and some people say I am part of that cruelty. Well, I don't mean to be, but the question is being asked: how would Mrs. Trump stack up against some other prospective first ladies? As you know, if Hillary wins, there will be no first lady in the White House. What are we going to call it? First man, first gentleman? I don't know. There's never been a title like that. But here's how quickly, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina is running for president. He's not doing very well. Well, he would have no first lady. He's never been married. And, of course, his enemy, Donald Trump, is making certain inferences about his failure to find a wife. We won't go into that. I don't know what Donald Trump meant by that.
Right.
Ted Cruz has a wife, Heidi, who is quite brilliant. She's one of the managing director of Goldman Sachs. Now, that company, during the meltdown in 2009, had to face a federal bailout. Oddly enough, Ted Cruz campaigns against federal bailouts. Then there's a woman running on the Republican, Carly Fiorina. Well, she would have a first man or first gentleman, but all he does is play golf every day. He's been retired for 17 years. Now, you've probably seen pictures of Marco Rubio's wife, Jeanette. Well, she is considered the worst driver in Florida. She's one of the most ticketed women in the state. I think her most recent accident, she crashed into someone's Porsche. So the word in Florida is if you see her coming down the highway, pull over and give her the right of way. Now, Jeb, who doesn't want to campaign with his last name, he's now called himself Jeb, former governor of Florida. I'm sure you've seen pictures of his former First Lady of Florida, Columba. And she seems to be a very shy little thing and hiding out in the house. He shocked everybody. He's the son of a womanizing president, George H.W. Bush, who had his various affairs, and also of his womanizing brother, George W. Bush. But Jeb says that Columba is the only woman he's ever gone to bed with. And George W. in Texas said, did Jeb say that? He's setting such a high standard for the rest of us. And then the most fascinating First Lady, and I'm sure she'll never make it to the White House, is Janet Huckabee, wife of Mike Huckabee, who actually took over Bill Clinton's job as governor of Arkansas. Well, this is a rifle-toting tomboy, this Janet. It's said that once she cooked for dinner, she cooked Mike roadkill, but the rabbit had just been freshly killed on the road. And it is said that sometimes when she wants to put something in the stew pot, she takes a rifle and goes into the woods and kills something. So the reporters are saying if she goes to the White House, she will give the chef her recipe for possum stew.
You missed how about Carson?
I know nothing about Carson's wife. I keep up with all of these. For some reason, she seems to be stuck away somewhere. So I think that's a very interesting challenge you're giving right now. People should do an article on a possible First Lady, Mrs. Carson, don't you think?
I would say so. I have no idea who or where.
No, because in all of the things I've read about potential First Ladies, there's a blank thrown on her. So we don't know. That's something I'm going to find out. You've given me a challenge, okay?
Oh, right. What another challenge. But anyway, I'm just floored by this. I'm listening to you so intently. So it's not a political discussion. It's a wife discussion, isn't it?
Yes. And I've talked about first. I don't know why. Of course, I study American press. Well, I'm a Hollywood reporter, but I've always had this thing about presidents and their first ladies. Now, some reports are wrong in the sense that they say Melania would be the first lady born in a foreign country. That's not really true. Louisa Catherine Adams was born in London. Now, she was the wife of John Quincy Adams, who was called the most cantankerous man in America. Mrs. Adams was probably the most brilliant first lady in the history of the Republic. I mean, she was a singer, a poet, a musician, really an intellectual, and I don't think any first lady quite equaled her in just sheer knowledge, although Eleanor Roosevelt was hardly a dummy. But now, how did Trump suddenly come into my life? Well, first, I was going to talk about Mrs. Trump anyway. Now, there is a great coincidence here. I had planned 2016, my schedule. That's assuming I will still be around in 2016. A man who I know, he said, Darwin, at your age, you should never make plans more than 2 months ahead.
Hey, Darwin, listen, you're talking to me who has a husband who's 91, so forget it.
Anyway, I said, I'm making plans. Well, my plans were just thrown out the door because, as you know, I do the celebrity books for the National Book Network, and I got a call, and they said, on September 1st, 2016, which is 2 months before the presidential election, they said, we want you to deliver us a tell-all book on Donald Trump. It doesn't matter whether he is nominated, whether he becomes president. We just think that this is such a fascinating American figure, and people have been written about him, but mostly the books have been about his creation of a business empire. They want you to put all that in the book, and then certainly bring us up to date of what's going to happen to him in 2016. But mostly we want you to delve into his personal life. So all my plans just went out the window. You won't believe this, but they're setting up. I will have to interview at least 1,000 people. Now, that sounds more intimidating than it's not intimidating to me. In all those years I was the chief writer for the Frommer Guides, sometimes it seemed like I talked to 1,000 people every week. I was talking to new people every single day, one after another, as I traveled through these lands. And so I'm going to have Donald Trump coming out of my ears by June of next year. Now, many of the people I will talk to will praise him highly. Many will attack him. I think I can get an interview with Marla Maples. That was his also beautiful second wife.
I'm sure you will be able to do that.
I don't know if Ivana will talk to me or not. She might. Another very, very beautiful woman. A lot of people now don't know that you don't hear a lot about them, but Donald has 4 other children. I love the name of the 5th one, that little very adorable boy called Barron. But one is named Donald Trump Jr., and would you believe it? Another is called Ivana Trump, the same name as the mother. That could be confusing. There was one woman who named her daughter after herself and would be called Ivana Trump Jr. And then there's Eric Trump and very appropriately named Tiffany Trump, because Donald is known to do a great deal of his shopping at Tiffany's. In fact, he has a Tiffany store right in Trump Tower if you don't want to go to the original breakfast at Tiffany's store. So there are 5 little Trumps running around. When Donald Trump Jr. Showed his father a diamond engagement ring he wanted to give his girlfriend, Donald Sr. said, "Son, how much did you pay for that?" Or in essence, how much am I paying for that? And the son said, $65,000. And Daddy Trump said, "Take it back. That's too cheap to give a girl."
You're kidding. Oh,
well,
my gosh.
Only $65,000,
My gosh.
So now I don't know what you think of Trump, and I won't embarrass you.
Yes, you do. I don't have to tell you. You know me enough. You know.
Well, but you see why, at first, what shocked me about this call I received from MDN is why didn't I think of writing about Trump before I had to be told? Now, it's not that he's been out of my radar. I wrote about him when I did a book on Merv Griffin. You know, he and Merv Griffin got involved in a lot of business deals, particularly in the Bahamas, and I was familiar with all of that, and each one was trying to out-crook the other, and so I've been collecting data on him for years, but somehow I don't know why, it had never moved to the front of my brain to start devoting my life to him, but I will be doing that. In fact, I think by this time next year, I will know a hell of a lot about Donald Trump. And, I mean, he could be nominated. More and more, it becomes in the realm of possibility, although he will be shot down according to the talking heads on TV. But, you know, they're often wrong, too. They really are. And it's also odd that if he does run, and if Hillary runs, then I will be doing, not only have a book out on Hillary, but a book out on Donald.
I was just going to ask you, so in other words, when will your book on Bill and Hillary be out?
It will be out in October, and I will enter the witness protection plan.
I'm sure, but you would be more in that when you get finished with Trump. That's where you better run away fast.
Well, he, in the past, 2 or 3 people have written about him. His lawyers immediately threatened to sue. Cindy Adams of the New York Post is always saying, well, Darwin only writes about dead people who cannot sue. Well, that's not true. I wrote a book about Michael Jackson, and he was soon to die, but he had not died. And, of course, I'm writing about Bill and Hillary. I don't expect them to sue. By the way, it's not a Bill and I'm not anti-Clinton. You know I'm not. But I'm sort of everybody looks bad in my book on Bill and Hillary, including their enemies. They made a lot of mistakes. You know they did. But their enemies were vile. So it's not any pro or anti-Clinton. It's just sort of like an unbelievable American drama. And that's what I think Trump is. I just can't believe him. He's oh, by the way, I just heard the latest. I know he said it jokingly. You know, he's in a bitter fight with Jeb Bush. But Trump has said privately that he said the first thing I will do is to have Columba Bush deported from Florida back to Mexico as an illegal alien. Now,
when did he say that? Who said that?
Donald Trump.
Oh, I mean, okay.
He said it jokingly.
Yeah, right. Well, this is quite a discussion this morning. You know I'm very silent because I will call you personally so we can really talk because I don't do this on the air. But I love the fact that you did this morning. I know nothing about Mrs. Trump, but I know so much about you. And, you know, I care about you. And you are so special and thinking what you're going to be doing. So you mean once you finish this book, I won't even be able to speak to you until next September, right?
Yes, but you've given me a challenge. I know all about these other first ladies, but it is about time someone, particularly if he goes up in the polls, who is Mrs. Carson?
Well, he's right up there.
He's in hiding.
I know, and he's right next to Trump in many of the polls, so it'll be interesting.
Have you ever seen a picture of his wife?
No.
Well, oh my God. Well, we'll see. Next time I talk to you, I'll know a hell of a lot more. All right. So I better ring off, but I will
Well, no, I have to tell you, let's see, when are we ready for our next guest? Do we have more time? Oh, we have more time. You know what? They're not getting as much time as you, so keep going. You don't have to give up yet.
All right.
Okay, so keep talking about this.
That I think you have a birthday coming up in December.
True.
So I think I have just heard that Mrs. Trump has come out with a new skincare line called Melania Caviar Complex. And it is said to take 20 years off your life. I don't know what's in it, but so I mean it sounds like I'm really praising her. You know, I can admire a woman, but I have no idea what her political views are. I know that Trump has decided not to take her on the campaign trail.
Oh, really?
Well, she's made 2 or 3 appearances. She did appear at the last debate, but she prefers to be in the background. And I mean, she's not Hillary Clinton.
You know why? Wait a minute. You know why? Because if she comes in, no one's going to look at him. They're all going to look at her. That's why he doesn't want to share any attention.
Well, that is true. And now, you know, Hillary is taking an incredible beating. And it said when they did that test, they bring up a name. And what's your first word? And most Americans, the first word for Hillary was liar. Now, that's a terrible put down to live with. I think that woman has taken incredible abuse, some of it very unfairly. But that's always been the case with the Clintons. Now, I think Bill deserves some. You know, Bill himself said he's made a lot of stupid mistakes, and now there are a lot of press reports out that if Hillary gets elected, the first thing when Hillary returns to the White House, she will have to lock up all the interns. So she's she's just subjected to endless and this continuing controversy over her emails. I'm almost getting tired of it. I mean, the only reason that people are interested in their emails is because they think they can. It's called in journalism today the gotcha moment. They're hoping that she will write a very incriminating email that will derail her presidency. But so far, what have we learned? There's an expression, beware of what you want, for you might get it. So one of her emails has revealed that John Boehner, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, is an alcoholic. That's not going to help the Republican cause. And the other is Sidney Blumenthal, her chief advisor, sent her 17 reasons that Clarence Thomas should be impeached because they've now proven that he lied 17 times during his appearance on the House of Judiciary Committee when he was being considered as a nominee for. And you know, when Bill Clinton lied about his affair with Monica Lewinsky, that led to his impeachment proceedings in the Senate. So what I'm saying, some of these disclosures will not necessarily be viewed favorably with the Republicans. So maybe we better keep some emails private. But we'll see. Probably, unless something goes terribly wrong, Hillary does seem to be the front runner, and she probably will win because she will carry the Latino vote and she will carry the African American vote. And, you know, today,
how about the women's vote?
Well, yes, two other groups, the most powerful being the women's group, and she has 98% approval rating in the gay and lesbian community, which are often some of the biggest financial backers of a presidential candidate. So she has a good run, and if Trump is not nominated, I don't know who will be. I can't imagine Dr. Carson. Dr. Carson has some weird views. They're trying to suppress some of them, but I call him Dr. Strangelove. and he has that soft voice, and then they're trying to conceal some of his past remarks, but his views on homosexuality and on things like that are, in my opinion, medieval. However, he would be the only president who could conduct a brain operation.
And with that, we're going to say thank you. I was so glad for the extra time. And you and I are going to talk because the latest thing about this woman in Kentucky and what she's done and who's in jail, you and I are going to talk personally. This is not enough time for me with you. So I had to call you. But thank you.
I hope Mrs. Trump heard our broadcast today and will invite us for dinner at the Trump Towers, okay?
Okay, thanks, Darwin. This was great. Absolutely great.